Okay, hold on. Let's see. Does it say it's broadcasting? Okay, I do get kilobit bit right now. Oh, okay. We're live now. It just didn't go through the first time. That's weird. It hasn't done that before. Hello, guys. Welcome back. I thought I'd been talking to you for the last minute or so. Okay, there it is. Chat's going. We are live. Oh yeah. Where's the? Hold on. I got to stream. A stream. I can also put the spooky music in the background. You'll be able to hear it now. Can you hear that?
I don't hear any music.
Damn it! I still got to figure out how to pipe system audio through to you.
Don't sweat it, man.
Oh, wait a second. Can I do that? Is there a way to? Okay, I'll do that next stream. But I think there's a way that I can mix those two, right? Where I can say I want desktop audio to go to you instead of microphone. Probably. Because I should be mixed, so I can mix myself in with the desktop audio. And then in the future stream, I'll send that with you with the desktop audio. That way you'll be able to hear everything on your side. Remind me to do that, please, after the stream today.
Okay. Sure.
Because if I can fix that, that'll be absolutely baller. Shot collar, 20-inch blades on them baller. I just like saying that. All right, let's get the LCD screen and display here. Dude, we have got a good show for you guys today. We got spicy good, stuff. Solid topics.
Spicy stuff.
Crazy shit going on. Fucking tales of cops and fucking agents. And I mean, this is crazy, man. People selling fucking Windows keys illegally and shit. I mean, it's like, dude.
Hey, I mean, look, dude. I've sold a few PCs, okay, in my time. Yeah. Not under a what is legally considered a corporate veil, right?
Sure.
Just, Craigslist style stuff, or Facebook Marketplace, whatever. And even then, I've been like, hey man, you should probably go out and get your own key. Like,
sure.
I've installed Windows and like said, hey, I didn't activate this. You should go and do that on your own. Here's the legitimate way to do it. And then there's other ways, but I leave that as an exercise to the class,
Even
I want to
be clear. Hold on, let me stop you for a second. I want to be clear to everybody. It is okay. I'm going to say this too. Like this is like hot take, right? It is okay for your virtual machines and shit for you to just go and fucking activate your local copy or run unactivated. Microsoft gives 0%. Are we past 7 seconds? Now we are. Precisely 0 fucks Microsoft gives that you activate those products or even your own personal on your computer. They just want you running Windows. At this point, Windows 11 makes them so much money by you running it. They don't care. However, they can't just give away keys for free because that means the system builders would get to give away keys for free. Right. And Microsoft makes their money off of selling retail keys through system builders and selling licenses to big corporations. So if they gave it away for free, true. But if they gave it away for free, they'd have to give it away for free to everybody. But if they sell it to the corporations, but then let individuals just go run their little GitHub hackery, they don't care because I'm going to prove it. Who owns GitHub?
Microsoft now.
Microsoft owns GitHub, right?
Yeah.
If you go to GitHub right now and you type KMS activation or activate Windows and search, see how many projects come up that tell you how to use the KMS hack to activate your Windows. Right. They have not removed any of them. They are reported to death. They are full of posts in their forum saying this is illegal, delete this project. This violates the agreement with Microsoft. Microsoft hasn't deleted a single one. I went through and looked. I was like, they must have deleted one, right? There might have been one that crossed the line.
Probably not.
They have not deleted. The only projects they have deleted are ones where people put extra shit into the code to like backdoor your system. Those ones got reported and taken away, but all the ones that just activate through KMS or permanently activate the machine through a local, what do they call HW something hack? There's another way to activate Windows 11 that doesn't require you to go out to a server.
You're basically
like
still
three
spoofing.
Methods,
You're still spoofing the activation server.
Well, no. There's a way to do it where you don't even spoof any activation server. You basically just say, hey, Windows, you're an offline PC, and here's your code, and this code matches your hardware, but it's a code that Microsoft gives you generically that gives everybody a 180-day trial. But when you put it in and you activate it with HMS, it just says, you can have it forever. And Microsoft hasn't fixed the bug. And I'm like, why wouldn't they fix such an egregious activation bug? They want people to have an activated Windows. There's no benefit to them. If you can't buy a key, or you're not buying a system from a system builder, like, they know they're not going to sell you a key. You're not going to go pay them $200 for a fucking key to run on, like, your own old computer. You're just going to buy a new computer that comes with it, right?
Right.
There's no reason to go spend $200. But the system builders pay them a percentage of that and get a profit. So it's the bread and butter of the system builders, and it's the bread and butter a little bit, a bread and butter of Microsoft. And then Microsoft makes its real money selling volume license keys to corporations.
Yeah, that
is a cash cow.
They make gangster money off of Windows Server.
Mm-hmm.
Windows Server, because now it's like per core. I think
you probably know this because you work in the business. How much is it? Yeah, no, it's per core and it's per remote user. So if you have a user connecting to your server, you have to pay a license for the user connecting to your server and a license for the software itself. How much do you think a license is for like data center? Like their most ripped down, stripped down version of Windows.
It's got to be probably in the thousands. I would say
I want to say it's like
$4,000
to $8,000 or something.
I would say not quite to 10 grand plus, but yeah, probably close. Because like,
thank you, James, so much, dude, for the $10, man. You're awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Thanks. First time catching one of these streams live. Thank you for the streams. I always play them on long road trips and traveling around during work. Keep up the awesome work. Love what you all. This is the
one to catch live too, because this is gonna be the stream. We started late, but we're gonna pay for it. You guys will like it.
I dig the whole like, let's find a thing that we want to talk about a lot kind of a topic. I think that's
I
cool.
like this too. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. It's per core licensing is a lot.
But
it makes sense.
Straight up rob the bank with that shit.
It makes sense when you look at it from a virtualization standpoint, though. Like, you split out like this 128 core processor to like a dozen people running whatever, and you're probably charging by the minute or by the hour for that server time. The person running the server, and so then it kind of makes sense in that way. But it's still like, holy cow, it's like $800+ per core or something. It's insane.
It's so expensive. Yeah. And that's the thing is Microsoft's done that for a long time where they sell their per SKU, per core, per license connecting and per so even if so let's say you buy a server and you're doing it legit. As a business, you're doing it legit because you're a public facing business. Microsoft's going to audit you because you obviously run Microsoft software. They're going to know. So they're coming in and do an audit. So you got to do it on the level, right? What you're going to do is you're going to set up a key management server that every time a system comes online in your business, Microsoft cha-ching, 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 every volume license key is basically producing revenue for Microsoft. You have an account set up that's basically like just give a key. So when they spawn a VM or they spawn something, it fires up and it installs a key, boom, cha-ching, Microsoft just got paid from their corporate account. So it's a very easy way for them to get money very, very quickly and allow the business to have the convenience of just operating without everybody having to like type in a key or copy a key and put it in somewhere. It's just very convenient. But if you have a server that everybody's connecting to remotely and using like remote desktop services, or they're creating a session that's like hosting certain services, Active Directory and all this stuff, they have to pay a license per person on the server. So now when you're connecting to the server from remote host, you're not just paying for the workstation operating system on that, you're also paying for a connection slot on the server depending on the service. So Microsoft cleans up with licensing across the board. That's like their bread and butter. That's where they make their money, and they always have. So what happens in a situation where individuals just say, oh, I'm going to activate my Windows or whatever? Yes, technically it is illegal if you activate it outside of Microsoft, because there's only one way to buy a legal Microsoft key. And I already researched this to death a couple of months ago. You guys saw my whole Twitter rant about this. There's only one way to acquire a legal Microsoft key, and that is to buy it with a system from a system builder that is authorized by Microsoft to sell retail keys. They price fix them so they can't compete with each other, and they all make the same profit off selling the key. I believe like it's $200 for a key or something for like professional Windows 11 Pro or something like that. So they get their money from selling it to the system builder. System builder get their money. They're cut from selling it to the customer for $200. They don't pay $200 for it, but they sell it for $200. So that's where they make their money, is through the system builders, not necessarily like the individuals that are like, oh, I got my old aging computer here. I think I'm going to go buy a copy of Windows 11 that probably won't even install on it because it doesn't meet half the requirements. So I'm going to return it anyways. So Microsoft only has one legal way to buy a Windows retail key from them other than buying it from a system builder. And that is to go to the Microsoft Store and run their tool that checks to make sure your computer is compatible with it in the first place. Or you can bypass it and say, I have another computer somewhere it's not connected and I want to use it. But you have to buy it from the Microsoft Store directly. And Microsoft Store sells it to you for the same price that the system builder sells it to you for. So if you go to a system builder and they're selling you a key any less than $200 for Pro or whatever, and it's not some promotional thing by Microsoft, they're lying. They're selling key. Yeah, it's a stolen key. If you go to a site and you pay $15,
a stolen card or something.
Yeah, if you go to a site and you buy a $15 key from somewhere, it's either stolen or it's region locked, which is still against Microsoft's terms of service. Like people are like, hey, but you bought this key in Taiwan, you should be able to use it anywhere you want. Technically, you'd think so, but in Microsoft's licensing and their verbiage, no, you're not supposed to. You can though. I mean, I looked and it's like if you have a Taiwanese key and you can load an English SKU keyboard on a Taiwanese build, it's basically the same thing, right? It's like they didn't change a whole lot in these SKUs other than maybe in Europe you don't have a browser inbox, maybe in this country you don't have something. There's slight changes between them, but the license is still valid. If you bought that license with a system builder and you moved to the United States, you would still be using that license and it would be paired with that computer for the rest of its life. However, if you buy a license from a site that is selling you a Taiwan volume license or a Taiwan retail license that they're basically buying in Taiwan for like And keep in mind, if they're selling to you for $15, they stole it. It's a stolen key. It's either stolen or volume licensing. That's the only two ways they're getting a key for that. People are like, oh, but in Taiwan, it's only like, it's so much cheaper. And it is. There are countries where it's cheaper. It's not that much cheaper. It's not. If you adjust for the currency, it's not.
The conversion and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Man, this is crazy. It's I don't know what's going on.
How could anybody, the thing is, like, how could anybody truly think in this day and age that you can get away with something like this?
Well, that's
like,
it,
seriously,
right?
dude, as a system builder, Microsoft keeps their eye on. By the way, full disclosure, I worked for Motherboard Computers for 2 years when I was a kid. I was 7. I think when I started with them, I was 18 years old, and I worked with them until I was 20, and that's when I came to Microsoft. Yeah. I was 19. I was almost 20 when I started working for Microsoft. So that was my first computer job, was at Motherboard Computers. Right. We had a key on the wall printed on a piece of paper that we installed on every single computer that shop ever frickin' sold, until we fired an employee. He got irate, tipped off Microsoft. We were selling this key, and they sent us a cease and desist. They didn't even sue. They just sent a cease and desist, and then we started buying keys. But we must have put that key on like 2,000, 3,000 machines. Dude, that key was on like Northrop Grumman server machines that we sold to the government. Like, I mean, it's still probably out there in a pile somewhere, sold in a surplus auction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I worked for. I've worked for a phone tech support company in California once. Yeah, and
thank you, Joe Tachi, for the tip, dude.
Yeah, man. I worked for them right at the rollover from XP to 10, I think, or 7. No, it was XP to 7. And yep. We wanted to install 7 on a couple of the machines in the office to play around with it and get kind of caught up and make sure that we could help customers with their upgrade or whatever issues they were going to have. Well, it turns out there was only one actual PC in the entire office of like probably close to 50 or more machines. Like only one of them actually had a legitimate XP key built into it. The rest of them were using that generic XP install key that I'm sure half a dozen fucking people in chat, RXQQ2 or something like that. That one everybody used for XP. And so it wouldn't activate. We couldn't install it. It would get to the authentication page and it wouldn't work. And when I left, I seriously considered turning them in for the bounty. For companies using pirated Windows and stuff, and but I was like, I'm not that petty, I guess. But holy cow.
But you'd be surprised. People do that. Like Motherboard Computers employees. What I think at our max we had 4 employees, like including the owner and his wife. Yeah. Like it was like his owner. No, we had 5. Owner, wife. I was a tech. There was another tech, and then there was a senior tech that I took his job when he got fired. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think he's the one that turned us in when we fired him.
My key is I've upgrade from an XP key, a legit XP key that I'm pretty sure that I got off an old Dell machine. So technically, I think I'm rocking a illegitimate install of Windows. but
precisely, nobody cares. No, I'm telling you right now, nobody cares.
It's so mixed up and lost. Nobody could find it.
There is a huge difference, dude. What's going on now versus you using a key?
Yeah, no, so I don't have a link to this. I wanted to be kind of careful about this because I didn't want this to turn into like a witch hunt or like a big band thing or a big bandwagon thing.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to go after the individual, like just go after the whole practice. I wanted to
talk about what he was doing and talk about the method and how sketchy and weird this is. Because
if you want to know who it is, just go to Twitter. Just go to Twitter and look at the thread.
I don't mind saying it, but I do want to preface this. I don't want this to turn into like a big bandwagon, like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit or whatever. What he's doing sucks, or what he's being accused of doing is shitty. And I imagine other system integrators either have done this in the past or could even currently be doing this sort of thing. There's a lot of weird, cheap, like sketch folk who are kind of independent-ish. They're not big brands like Corsair or, Power GPU or anything like that could be doing this sort of thing. There have been a lot of small PC building companies, tuner enthusiast style companies that have been popping up in the wake of like the artesian builds thing falling apart.
I've noticed. Yep.
And that sort of thing. And so this happening from this company can then cast a dark shadow on the industry as a whole, and that's part of why I wanted to highlight this method. And so, like, if you have purchased from maybe Skytech Gaming or someone else, I don't know, some of these smaller kind of lesser known companies that are kind of growing and popping up, you can check and see, and just to make sure that you're legit. Like, you personally aren't going to get in trouble if you are rocking a key that is illegitimate or whatever. Like, Microsoft's not going to come sue you for whatever, DMCA or copyright or whatever. In fact, if you were, you probably could get them on the horn, explain the situation, and get a key from them. Like,
no, Microsoft legit activation. So actually, here, can I want to interject one thing, because it's really important to what you just said right there. People were like, why would Microsoft like not care if you pirated like Windows? Well, the reason why is because just precisely in this situation, if somebody sells you a key that you think is legit, like you're like, I paid $15 for my key. I paid money for it. It's mine. Like, I didn't pirate it. I gave money for it. Right. And that's the thinking people have, because like the site says we sell official keys. You buy a key, it's your key, right? Would you agree people would feel that way? It's the same as buying a game key from G2A. It is sort of. It's similar, because like you get it from G2A for 70% off retail. What's probably happened is they used stolen credit cards to buy the key. That is true. For those ones, you're absolutely right. And now are reselling them at less, because it doesn't matter. They haven't actually used the money. In a similar sense, if you're going to Kinguin or even G2A or whatever the fuck and buying a key for less than $200 or whatever it is that Microsoft charges in their store, it's either scraped from a injected hardware key, it is a volume license that will expire after a certain amount of time, or they're scrubbing like OEM COA stickers from trashed machines, things like that. They are illegitimate keys. They're illegitimate. That's fair to say. But the thing is, you can't tell the difference. You will not be able to know. Even if it is a Taiwanese key, you don't know if they use a stolen credit card to buy that or not. Like, you have no way of knowing. So, but you do know that if it was a legitimate purpose, that it would have costed way more than that to acquire that key. So there's really no way they could sell that at a profit. It doesn't make sense at any stage, unless somebody buys the key for retail, sells it to them for 1/100th of what they paid for it or whatever, which is not really going to happen on a volume that serves everybody, right? But here's why Microsoft is just hating that why Microsoft doesn't go after individuals that do this. The reason being is, if I sell you a key, like let's do a little role playing here, buddy. I sell you a key and you just bought it and you're like, I got my retail key. And I'm not saying like you're educated and understand what's going on like you do now. You're just an average person that's like, you go search for Windows, I want to buy a key, a website pops up, you put in your money, boom, I paid money, I have a key, it's legit, right? Like, you, in your head, it's legit. If you put that key on your computer and then your computer doesn't get activated because they disable the key, or something else happens along the line, right? The key doesn't work, or you find out that the key is not working the way it should, you're going to call Microsoft. You're not going to call the place you bought the key from, because the key worked in the beginning. You're going to call Microsoft and be like, why isn't my key activating? And Microsoft, after wasting 20, 30 minutes and, paying $100 to their tech support people to figure it out, they're going to come to the same conclusion that you got duped. You bought a key from a site that's outside of the United States that we have no jurisdiction to stop, that we can't do anything about. You bought an illegal stolen key. And then the customer's going to be like, no, I didn't. I paid money. I didn't steal this key. And then it's going to be a whole fight. And then they're going to go trash Microsoft publicly. And that's going to be a PR nightmare. So the only way Microsoft can get out of these situations is you buy a key for $5, it gets deactivated, which rarely happens. Keep in mind, they don't even really do that much anymore. They used to do it a ton back when I worked there, but now they usually don't deactivate keys even if they're stolen. But if they deactivate that key and you call, you know what they have to do? They have to give you a key, because the customer is always right. You're saying that you paid for that key and you have an email proving that you paid money for that key. And if they don't give you a real key to replace the one that they just deactivated, they're not going to be mad at the company that sold them the stolen key. They're going to be mad at Microsoft. Right. Because they can't go after them. They can make Microsoft's life a living hell. Well, so Microsoft will usually offer that. And they can track where the key came from. Like, I'm sure there's some giant database somewhere with all the keys, and this was a part of a big volume sale to Best Buy or something. Every key is linked back to the system builder. The retail keys are linked back to the system builder. If you buy directly from the site, it's linked back to Microsoft. If it's a volume licensing key, the numbers, the first couple of numbers in it, and the chain actually, just like a credit card, tell you which company it is, which volume licensing agreement it is. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and they also run their own key management servers, and that's something we're going to talk about is how like this person didn't sell keys. This person sold a key. They just like infinite activation on a server that just basically says, whatever you give me, I'm going to go sure you're activated. Basically, not really, so but you have to. That's it. That's what he's being accused of. There's some very coincidental happenings. A particular cracked KMS server
was shut down, right? It's a legal server, got shut down, and coincidentally, a handful of this person's customers, they're suddenly their windows pop up and say, "Hey, you need to activate your Windows," and like some other people have been digging into the customers. They've been asking questions and stuff with certain customers and getting the right information and looking into you can see the registry and stuff and see where it's supposed to be communicating to get the authentication and all that stuff. And it is looking pretty damning. There's some screenshots about saying some keys just go bad after a little while. And it's like, bruh, if you're selling OEM COAs, they don't just go bad. That's not how that works. When they go bad, that's a corporate volume sort of thing. Like, hey, my company is lending you this laptop while you're an employee here, and you got to come back every couple months or whatever to have that reactivated, like as a security measure and stuff. And so it's a little weird. And then there's the screenshots of him saying one customer went and bought a legitimate key from Microsoft and is like, "Hey, are you going to refund me this because blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Well, I'll give you the $10 that it would cost me to get you a key because," and it's like, bruh, I work. And I haven't jumped into this conversation because I'm not trying to get me or the company I work for involved, but I do work for a system integrator. I know what the company I work for pays for COA keys directly from Microsoft. Yeah. Right. We're not the company isn't buying enough licenses to start getting into the big volume stuff.
You can just
Dell
Google it too,
whatnot.
I'm sure, because everybody pays the same price, in the country of origin.
Look, basically it's about $200. Even a system integrator who's selling hundreds,
that's what the customer gets charged, right? PCs.
I mean, it's not much different. I'm not going to say how much the company pays, but it's not that much. It's not that much cheaper than what you pay at retail for a COA key. It's really not. It's really, really close to the same price. It's practically the same. It doesn't matter.
It's more of a volume thing. They're expecting you to move volume. Is that your door opening and stuff on your side?
It closed. Yeah, my office.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make damn sure because I can't tell my microphone and I got to be on alert right now.
And so him saying $10, it only cost me $10 to get these keys. He's getting them from Kingwin or G2A or something like that, and that's still not okay. That's still not the way it's supposed to be done from a legitimate business.
Yeah, and Microsoft can't stop those sites, guys. They've tried. They can't because they're all offshore. Anytime that they have a U.S. representation, they just close it down and reopen it under a new name, and they're up within 24 hours again.
It just doesn't matter. It's more of a hassle for them to even bother because they're making money off of those people anyway. Their data is still going out there.
No. They totally. If the choice is you literally steal or buy an illegal key, or you don't run Windows at all, Microsoft would rather have you steal the key or just activate it.
That's why they made it so easy to upgrade from 10 to 11 or from 7 to 10 and then to 11. It was free. Please just use the newest Windows. That's all we want.
I mean, look at all the shit they put in there, dude. They're like, if you don't like Windows, you can go back to the old Windows. Okay, if you don't like Windows, you can go back to the old Windows in 60 days. If you don't like that Windows, you can go back to the old Windows in 5 days. There's no rational reason why they made it a finite amount of time. It's because they just had too many people that were downgrading, so they just kept tightening the noose in each version.
CCTV user says every key I've ever bought from the key sites has always worked and still works 100%.
Yeah, we're not saying that it doesn't work, and it will probably continue to work.
Microsoft doesn't care enough to.
Yeah, something can still be illegal and work. Stolen cars still start and drive usually,
right?
Unless they're a Tesla.
And honestly, look, I have two. Okay. I have to. My personal machine, the one I game on and stuff, has been.
Shikadance has to leave. I want to call him out because he really helped us out, dude. Shikadance, we haven't seen him in a long time. $10. He said, "I am still around, guys. I love you both. How's Xander doing?" Xander is doing great. I want to make sure you hear that before you leave. Xander's doing amazing. As a matter of fact, he's doing a school project right now, homeschooled with Mama, where them and another person finally are getting together and actually doing something physical outside, which is really freaking cool. So. Yeah. Colin B, we'll get to that later. Colin B said, "Get to the topic." No, we're gonna save that for dead last. You have to sit here and suffer through the whole show.
Like I was saying, I'm pretty sure technically the upgrade path that I took was technically not okay, because I'm pretty sure years and years and years ago I took a Dell COA sticker and legitimized my XP install and have had it then attached to my Microsoft account for what, I don't know, fucking 20 years or something. I don't know, a long time. So like they just don't care. They want you more on Windows. They want you to use Windows more than they care about trying to get the pirating or the cracking and that kind of stuff. So
everything we say this stream, don't take this as a criticism that, oh my God, I bought a cheap key or I did this. I didn't know you didn't. Dude, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a rat's ass. I will qualify this though.
I don't care.
I'm going to qualify this because I said this and this chap some asses on Twitter. Oh my God, dude, let's start that drama fire. No. So I told people, I said, listen, I don't want you to buy stolen keys, but people are like, we're going to still buy stolen keys because they're cheaper and they still work and everything. I'm like, no, I'm not saying you shouldn't steal the key for $6. I'm saying you should just steal it for free. Like if you're gonna steal it, if you pay a fucking criminal $6 to give you a stolen key or to give you a key that's basically sold to you under illegal terms from Microsoft,
you're funding terrorism and stuff.
You're funding, who knows what you're funding? You're probably funding like some dude sitting on his couch smoking weed, but whatever. If you pay that guy $6, Microsoft doesn't get any of it anyways, so it doesn't matter. You're basically just paying a dude to sell you something that's already free to you. If you just go and fucking do it yourself. And honestly, the key that they give you, sure, I could understand the appeal of having like a activatable key that never expires. Like I get that, but there's ways to even do that. If you're on a Windows 11, you can do that with the new activation method that Microsoft put in for some reason that's beyond my comprehension that allows you to activate it permanently with ever going to server. I don't know why they did that, but I'm guessing nudge, it probably has something to do with they're sick of these companies selling these cheap keys and taking people's money because ultimately if something happens to said key or something happens with that customer, they call Microsoft and expect tech support. So you sell somebody for a key for $6 and then grandma calls up Microsoft's like, I can't get my Windows to work. And they're like, all right, could you give us your product key? 538. Okay, well, that's a stolen product key from Dell, man. We can't give you support on that. I paid $6 for that key. And do you think she's going to give a shit if Microsoft said it's stolen? No, she's going to be mad at Microsoft. She's going to go robble on Facebook and Twitter. And Microsoft's going to have all kinds of bad PR.
I bet they wouldn't even tell her it was stolen. They'd probably just go clickety click and push some legit thing and okay, we fixed you. It's fine.
I've talked to dozens of people and they said they got a free key out of it. They got a free key. Microsoft just gave them a free key. If there's any problems and their key didn't activate for whatever reason, as long as they said they bought it and they told them like, oh, it's from so-and-so.com, they wouldn't even ask for evidence. They're just like, here, have a free key. I'm curious. Somebody try that.
It's like the Windows phone activation thing. Like I've done that too.
Still works today, by the way.
Back in the day, I activated NXP install that way, and it was 40 minutes out of my day to fucking call them up and wait and blah blah blah. Why am I getting this error? Oh, blah blah blah. Here, and it works.
How many people don't know about that hack, by the way? Like I'm curious, is there anybody in here that doesn't know about that hack? Like where you can just activate unlimited number of computers using the same product key just by unplugging the Ethernet and doing manual activation?
What kills me is like once the machine does communicate to the internet, it keeps popping up and say, "Hey, let's finish your Windows install." And I said, "No, man, I already done. Like I'm on the desktop.
We're good. Get out of here, bro."
Yeah, I'd hate that.
They used to deactivate batches, but they stopped doing it. They stopped deactivating batches because it just cost them too much money and tech support, too many problems. Because the thing is, let's be honest, most people that have a key that works, they bought it from somebody, whether it's stolen or not, or if they think they bought it legitimately. And if they think they bought it legitimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter to Microsoft. However, if Microsoft was losing huge money on this, like system builders, for instance, started giving away free keys and system builders started doing it, then they would have a problem. Right. Then at that point, they will step in because now they have somebody who is selling the stolen property in the jurisdiction of the United States of America that they can put their grubby little hands around their throat, right? It's only when it's like a foreign, and it's always a foreign site. I've gone and looked at the registers for all these guys where it's like privated under Peru or under, some country that has no extradition, right? And so that's really, really common is these companies just fly up and then they just don't even swat them down anymore. It's like I've seen some of these companies have been around for like 10 years now. They still have a Microsoft authenticated reseller or Microsoft authorized reseller, which isn't even like a thing for Windows keys. It is for other products, but not for Windows keys, because you can only sell them as a system builder. And the thing is, like, I think system builders can, you guys can't sell loose keys, can you? You can't. If somebody just calls and says, "Hey, can I buy a Microsoft key? Can you sell it to them?"
I don't think so.
I don't think you can because their TOS says you can't.
Doesn't sell individual bits and pieces as is, but I do believe the COAs that they get are not. They're not for that. They are not. They're not for retail sale. They're for use on the machines that are being sold and all that.
Oh, hold on just a second. I got to reply to something really quick. I shouldn't have looked at that, but whatever. I just don't like when I see, you know, friends and stuff like trying to like justify and educate somebody doing a bad thing and wrong, and you're like, well, technically it's not really that big of a thing.
Oh, I mean,
it's like, no, it's a very big thing what's happening to me right now, guys. There are a lot of people that are doing some crazy shit. A lot of stuff I can't even talk about because it's literally like being investigated right now by authorities all over the place. I cannot believe how much this freaking thing blew up. But needless to say, you guys, what you see publicly is but a tiny fraction of what is really, really happening. I'll give you that much. That's all I can say. And I'll give some more details later on, like what specific. Like I can say definitively, we know this person DDoSed my mod. We have 100% fact. We got the confirmation from Comcast, Cloudflare, and a federal agent. We have verified that the person was dumb enough to actually use a DDoS service for hire, pay for it with their own credit card, and attack from their own IP address from their own house without a VPN. So dumbest thing you could ever do, because that is actually a felony. So now the federal government is very much interested because that is a huge crime. I don't know if you guys know that, but like DDoSing used to be a thing people just used to do to each other. Well, DOSing, not DDoSing. DDoSing, it goes to a whole nother level. But people DOSing each other and stuff used to be just like, oh, fun, I got more bandwidth than you. No, today it is an absolute felony. If you attack somebody, you do any kind of bandwidth or denial of service attack against somebody, that's a federal crime. That's like you get caught and it pinned on you, you go to jail.
The computer something or other, blah blah blah. It's hacking essentially.
Correct. It is. And
I can't remember cybercrime something blah blah blah.
They actually have their own section for it. It used to just fall under just hacking. But now it's not even hacking, because here's the thing, you guys, a lot of people don't know this, but denial of service attacks don't just attack your target, it attacks everybody in between. So when you attack somebody with a bandwidth attack and you're forcing them to respond as fast as they can while overpumping their connection, you're also overwhelming all of the bottlenecks and all of the equipment between you and them, or the attacker, I should say. So when you're doing a distributed attack and you have all these attacks coming through a single vector, when they all bottleneck down to go through your ISP to come to you, they're also taking out all the people that are on your subnet, all the people that are on that switch. You're taking out everybody's service. You're never just taking out one person's service. You're always dealing damage to other people unless you use something like Cloudflare or CDNs and stuff.
I remember back in the day, WinNuke. Remember WinNuke?
I remember WinNuke and low Earth orbit ion cannon or whatever.
And yeah, man, even at that time, even one machine could throw enough packets to take down an entire, like a neighborhood, like a whole node. Like would go down. That's funny. Mm-hmm. I remember doing nothing horrible, but like I remember there was this one game I used to play, and somebody had like taken over a scene where it was really cheesy, like a graphical chat room sort of a deal. It's called Worlds Away, and you can only have like 8 little avatars in a room, like on the ground at once. If anybody else entered the room, you'd appear as like a little ghost in the corner to like save on bandwidth and stuff. And people would rock multiple accounts and stuff. It was really easy to spoof. And some guy had taken over a particular scene, and you couldn't get access to your like apartment because you'd have to come down out of ghost mode and then walk into the elevator. They fixed that eventually, but I remember one time nuking the guy who was doing that, and it was so funny. He goes beep, 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 and whoop, watch, and then bink, 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 bink. They'd all just disappear. Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Well, do you remember like another attack that was really fun back in the days? Do you ever do IRC, Internet Relay Chat, or is that before you?
A little. I remember it. I wasn't very active.
Okay, so IRC was basically like Discord of the day. As a matter of fact, it was so much Discord in the day that the first version of Discord actually did use an IRC like protocol. And so did Twitch. So did Twitch chat. So IRC is very much like what you're used to in Twitch chat, right? Like, hey, it's a public marketplace with some whisper functionality. Yeah. And you could send files and stuff. That was another cool thing about IRC, is you could basically send a file to somebody and like receive a file like through the chat program. And really popular for many, many years, like from the genesis of the internet, all the way from like text-based internet with the IRC2 client running under a bash shell, all the way up to like MIRC, right? Which was like the gold standard of IRC clients. Still around today. Still, you can fire up IRC, go get on FNet and everything. It's still around.
It powers a lot of different like other chat sorts of things. It's still the back end for a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
So in
Twitch
IRC
still uses IRC. That makes sense. That's how you can get all those extra plugins for emojis and stuff. It makes sense.
Oh, do they still use IRC? I think they emulate it now, though. They used to base their chat like on IRC, but when they moved to their own API, I think they emulate IRC now. So like the IRC server is basically just copying everything that's happening in their infrastructure and presenting it as IRC, if I remember right. I do remember reading something where they switched it because they couldn't do some stuff with the IRC protocol. So they created their own, but people are still using IRC plugins and bots and stuff. So they basically created like an IRC emulator of sorts. But here's the thing with IRC, there was a vulnerability in it called excess flood. And excess flood was when too many people joined the channel too fast. It overwhelmed the server and the server couldn't keep up with what was going on for that specific channel. And what it would do is it would just boot everybody out and reset the channel. And then everybody had to come back in. And so what people would do is something called bot flooding. And bot flooding you could do with just a script from your client that would basically say, go create 100 instances of IRC2, like open 100 clients, create 100 names, join the server, and then have all 100 people just, or more like 1,000, have like 1,000 people just dump into a channel all at the same time in the same second. And when they do that, the channel just goes, you see the screen, scroll, people join channel, and then it goes, boom, you're booted out of the channel. It says excess flood is the error. And then what happens is, while that's happening, you stop your botnet, but you coordinate it. So as soon as your bots go offline, you're the first person to join the channel because you can get the timing perfect. And then when you join the channel, you get handed the sysop role, which means now you run the channel, you create the rules, you can ban people, you can change the title and everything. So what happened is you had these roaming excess flood mobs that would go around where if you had a channel, even if it was like your little hobby channel or whatever, and somebody wanted to come in and bully you and they knew how to use these scripts, the script kiddies, they'd fire one of these up, boot you out of your channel, take your channel, and then lock the channel so that nobody could join it and then just camp on it. And this was a big thing back then. You had to go find an operator on FNet or whatever and message them and say, hey, somebody came and access flooded the channel, took it over, and then they had to go out and pry them out and delete their account, but they could just come back, right? It wasn't like now where they IP ban you because they can't. Because back then everybody was on the same ISP and the ISP had like one IP address. Right. So everybody was the same IP address from their bash shell because they were all running on the same computer in different shells, right?
Giant subnet, yeah.
Right. So if you banned them, you banned effectively an entire ISP from the freaking IRC. So they couldn't do that. So people just changed their name and boom, they were back again. So, those were real problems. So the internet as you see it today is much more secure. It's much more like we're not there yet. We're not there by a long shot. But if you compare it to like how easy it was to do shit and get away with it before versus now.
Dude. Yeah. It was way different. Or I remember AOL Instant Messenger. If you could do like peer-to-peer file transfers. You could connect to somebody directly like, hey, I'm going to send you this picture. And while that connection was open, you were connected to their computer directly. And I remember messing with friends and stuff who are not as tech savvy. And you look at your IP config and you can see what you're connected to, and you grab their IP address and you start sending them. You can start sending them net commands and stuff like open their CD drive, or write stuff on their screen and all kinds of. It was so much fun. That was so much fun. Back in the day.
No, seriously.
People are saying the LED screen is off.
Oh, is it? Is it?
It's like cropped funny or something.
I must have bumped it or something. Here, let me. It's because I zoomed the camera and it shares the same camera. So this is the same camera that's on the LCD screen down here. I just crop it.
Oh, that's funny.
So basically, if I turn the camera, watch. Like if I turn the camera, it's like, where is it? So you can see it's all around my room. It's the same camera, right? So it's just cropped differently. So you don't see it because I'm cropped here, but it's just outside of view and cropped from the same camera. So you can actually, if you just strategically position things within your camera's field and like do a wide shot,
that's man. That's
you
how
can just have tons of breakouts. Yeah,
that's why you'll see YouTubers record in 4K or better because then they can just crop down to 1080 and it's fine. Yeah,
and it looks fantastic. Nobody would actually be the wiser. So. It blows my mind how much money people still, even myself, like back in the day, I bought all this camera gear and shit. And it's like, dude, if you have like an iPhone, you've got like the best camera. Like if you have even if you have an Android, even if you have like a Google Pixel or something, you have the best camera ever. Even if. Actually, I'm going to give you something.
10 takes better pictures than my wife's iPhone 12 or whatever it is.
Well, the 12, but not the 14. The 14 would mop the freaking floor. Humble opinion.
Then I'll get the S23 Ultra and
I will say Samsung
crush the iPhone 14 then. It's so good.
I will say Samsung does have some pretty awesome sensors, and I will concede that every advantage iPhone has in photography and everything is all software. It's all software. The sensor is superior in the Android device. The software supposedly is superior in the iPhone.
I do think Apple's video is amazing. They crush video.
They do.
Awesome.
But you want to know Achilles heel that still sucks today? Ooh. So for all the power this thing has in the camera, like it can do, just so you know, out of the box, this is an 11 Pro Max. So I'm way behind, right? This is an old phone. This is like, they might as well have gray hair growing on it. This phone right here still only has a USB 2.0 interface. Still, even
whack?
the 14 has a USB 2.0. So you know what that
Isn't
means?
that whack?
Yeah, you cannot transfer files past 40 megabytes a second. You cannot, check this out, you cannot pull the full bandwidth of the camera because the camera can do 4K 60, which would even blow the USB 3.0 standard out of the water.
Yep.
And it just can't do it. So what you have to do is if you want USB 3.0 or if you want 4K 60 video off of it, you have to stream it over NDI over the network, and that means you need a Wi-Fi 6 router to get the full quality. Yeah. And it's still going to be lagged. It's always going to be more lagged than a cable connection. But I don't really understand why. Somebody explain this to me. Why is it that my Oculus Quest VR headset can do basically like better than 4K? I think it works out to like 6K or something when you add up both eyes. How can it do like 6K resolution at like 90 frames per second over my freaking Wi-Fi router? It uses the whole channel on the router, but it can do it over Wi-Fi router, and there's like no lag. Like it literally to me seems exactly the same, no motion sickness or nothing, is being connected with a cable. How is it they can get the lag so freaking low down to like the tens of milliseconds on a VR connection, but they can't seem to do that with a camera? Not even a USB camera has that less lag. Like what the hell are they doing differently, and why isn't camera technology like caught up with that and using the same standard to like broadcast the video? I don't understand.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I don't get
wonder
it.
if it has something to do with some compression or something, maybe some sort of the way the software is doing it.
Yeah, maybe there's some licensing thing going on there or something, because I'm like, how the hell? Like I know they can transfer the data that fast because I'm just using an off-the-shelf Wi-Fi router. Yeah, and it's doing it through the No, you can't have anything else connected to it unless it's Wi-Fi 6. If it's what is it, AN or whatever, 802.11 AN, you have to basically dedicate the entire router to it, because even if one device joins on, it starts getting some hitchy shit going on. But if you have a Wi-Fi 6 router, you can run your whole house and have a couple of Oculuses just blasting through the thing. Works no problem.
I'm gonna do that soon enough. I think it's probably maybe sometime this year. Is just not the VR thing. The upgrade to Wi-Fi 6. Yeah, because like part of my network right now we'll do it, but it's not. I don't have the range to get like everywhere for it. So I think I'm gonna have to upgrade the mesh network.
Yep. Hey, I love Scotch. Thank you for the $2. We appreciate all of those super chats. Hopefully the board's working. Everything's popping up there. Oh, there's a Patreon pledge during the stream. I didn't know that.
I
guess. It just popped up and said it's a Patreon pledge. So I'll go look and see who that was. Let's see here. And then somebody got a message here. Okay, nobody's taken those over yet. Okay.
Be here.
And then the top one says Patreon pledge, but it doesn't have a name. I'll have to figure out why.
And then it says,
so I love Scotch. Thank you for the $2 tip. He said Windows 95 key 111-1111111. I remember that. I do remember that.
For
did you get it?
Nice.
Okay. So do you well, you probably Windows 95 is probably a little bit before your day.
No.
Oh, did you?
I started on DOS 6.
Oh, hell yeah, brother. Okay, so yeah, Windows 95 was your jam then. So Windows 95, do you remember that the universal key that would unlock all of them was 111-1111111? Because there was no network. Back then it was WinSock. There was no network authentication.
I didn't. I may have jumped over 95 straight to 98 or wasn't on it for long enough to matter. I was like 10, 11 at that point.
Yeah, because Windows 95 got patched, like Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2, all that shit. And then they did Windows 98, Windows 98 SE, Windows 98 like SE2 or something, which was another Service Pack. Then they did Millennium. Who remembers Millennium Edition? Oh, that was garbage. That was the Vista of the 9X operating system.
Yeah. Nobody did that.
And then when I joined Microsoft on February 14th, 2000, that was not that long. That was like when XP just shipped. XP shipped, I think, or not, sorry. It was XP. XP shipped 8 days after I started working at Microsoft. And it's so like I can barely say I was involved. Like they actually did give me a sticker for it, but like I wasn't really that involved with that project. But XP was the first operating system where they merged the two teams. They used to have the 9X division and the NT division.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, they're very different operating systems too. People said they look similar, like the UI looked similar, but under the curtains they were completely different. Like very, very different.
I remember hearing about that. XP was based off of the NT kernel. And I think from there on, it has all been fairly the same.
Yeah, they neutralized the 9X team. So that's why you saw a lot of the graphical UI change. Like remember Windows 2000 Server and 95 and stuff, they started like weaning it down. It wasn't all super graphics and trying to make everything look all animated on the desktop and stuff like Windows 9X. And the reason they did that is because in Windows 95 and Windows 98, if any piece of software crashed on your computer, it would most likely take out the computer. It'd reboot it. and there'd be no blue screen of death. There'd be no error dialogue. It's just, you could literally write a program and just say, go to 0000 in memory and just start writing garbage, and it would just crash the computer. And NT had the ring system, which is you have rings that protect the processes. So at a certain ring level, every program you run on your computer has a full memory space. Like it can see all the pages to itself. It thinks it's alone on the system. It can't interact with anything else without going through special API. It's compartmentalized. In Windows 9X, that wasn't the case. You could literally just talk to the memory of a program standing right next to you. Like you could open up as a program with no administrator access or anything like that. You could just start editing the program and probing the memory of anything, even the system itself. So that wasn't safe, but it was fast. Back in the day, you needed fast for gaming. So that's why they did it that way. NT was much slower and much more resource intensive. But now today, because it's like memory is so cheap, storage is so cheap, all the stuff that NT needed to run with performance in mind, all that stuff exists today. It didn't back then. So that's why they neutralized the 9X team. Like Windows 95, 98, and Millennium Edition were all under the 95 or the Windows 95 team. And then XP was the first operating system where the two teams merged together. So they basically took all the 9X guys, all the NT guys. They said, you guys are all one big team. Get together and figure out what shit you want to keep and what shit you want to throw away. And that was where Windows 95 came out of that relationship, right? It was like NT 4.0 and Windows 3.11 for work groups, right? You look at those two things like side by side, and you're like, what do you want to trade back and forth? Like, and then you had OS2 Warp, which was the venture Microsoft tried to do with IBM to produce another version of Windows. It can still run Windows apps, like 8-bit Windows apps, but that was about it.
Huh. Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting story. But ever since then, it's been NT. Everything Windows XP and forward has been Microsoft's singular effort to create an operating system using all of the resources thrown together.
Whoa,
damn!
Man.
Serious?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
My freaking God.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. Can you hear the voices? Is the voices
I
on?
do not. Nope.
Damn it! Why is the voices not working?
Because
Can you guys hear the voices on stream? Voices. I don't know. I'll just put it back to clean. Thank you so much, dude, for the 100 Canadian dollars. With the current exchange rate, that's $4.50. No, I'm just kidding. No, I haven't looked at the Canadian exchange rate.
7 maple syrups and a cheeseburger.
Oh, and no, and a Tim Hortons, right? And a Tim Hortons.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Although I don't think the LED
super chat. Oh, that was his first super chat.
Did not change.
Damn, it didn't. Okay,
It
well,
did
we're just gonna have to rectify that, then,
Sorry,
sir.
man.
Let's go figure out why that is. Let's go to platforms. Let's see if I'm connected. Let's go to my YouTube. To my account, is it connected? Oh, Steed is connected.
NT trademark was purchased by someone else, and that is why
not
NT5
connected.
became Windows 2K. Oh, interesting. Huh. How about that?
Yeah, there's all kind. Wait, what was that again? What was the thing?
Somebody says, no, it's not NT. NT trademark was purchased by somebody else, and that's why NT5 became Win 2K.
No. When I'm saying NT, that's what Microsoft still called it internally. The new technologies team
the
in
kernel's
Microsoft,
from that, right?
Yeah, it's still the NT.
It's
They still referred to it internally. I don't know if they do externally, but internally it's referred to as the NT kernel even to this day. So, and basically when they merged the two teams together, the reason that they did it was because maintaining two operating systems was becoming really, really difficult to do because they have to create feature parity. So if they create something on the one operating system that they need to replicate on the other, the code is different because to run it on this operating system, it has to be compatible with authentication layer. It has to be compatible with the memory management system. They were different. They were way different. And so it was really hard to just drop stuff in unless it was a basic application. And so they were like, if we just bring everybody together, and man, I mean, if you think about the feat that was, though, at the time, it was really unstable. Windows 95 was probably the most unstable operating system I ever used when it dropped. Like it was absolutely intently horrible when it first came out. I do remember that. but it did get better with time, and it was fast as hell. Like if you think about it, even today, if there was a 9.5 operating system, your computer would have so much more performance. You wouldn't even know what to do with yourself, but it'd be so unstable.
It'd be. I've looked into some of these like Tiny 10, right? It's like a custom ISO where they've tore out all the bloatware and all this stuff. Like it's just not in there. It's actually based off of a. You can get from Microsoft a super stripped down version of their operating systems for like kiosks and things, right?
Yep.
Not embedded. It's not the embedded versions, but there's some acronym for it that I can't recall. It's like NLMS or something like that. And it's like these stripped down Tiny 10, Tiny 11 are sort of based on that. But yeah, man, you start bumping into a lot of weird issues. Like Fortnite doesn't work because you don't have Edge installed or something. Like it requires some sort of something, I don't know, or you start looking into weird stuff. There's all kinds of weird issues that you start bumping
dependency
into that
chain
don't
gets
quite
really
work.
messed
Yeah,
up.
it gets whacked.
Yeah.
It's like it's fine if it's just for internal use and you're just fucking around for your lab or something. But
StreamerBot should be
Yeah, it's
connected now,
weird.
guys. Sorry, it wasn't connected before.
so you're gonna have to donate another $100.
Yeah, you have to
take over
donate
that.
another $100 to Trip.
No, actually, if you re-trigger the announcement,
I can't.
shouldn't
They
that
never
do it?
because it wasn't connected to
'Cause the
YouTube
Stream
at the
Elements
time.
thing
Yeah,
didn't- yeah.
and then
fucking
Stream
hell.
Elements doesn't. And then the thing is, like YouTube will notify it, but Stream Elements won't. But you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I have the power because I am so massively powerful at my scripts here because I'm such a big one.
scripty.
So powerful. I can go in and run it myself. I can type Python space
Yeah, that's
set
it. It's the
text.py.
LTSC thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can go in here and I can do anything I want. I can control the horizontal and the vertical
And the vertical.
and the diagonal. So I can do stuff like this. I can say, let's see if I spell this right. Inar Chow Nard. Ooh, I spelled that wrong. Here, there's Simon, CHOUI Nard. I love it. And we're gonna go ahead and do that in a nice little color of FF00. And we're gonna put that. Where should I put that? Should I put it up here? Should I put it there? Should I put it there? I think we should put it right at
there.
Here. You know what? Because he gave so much, I'm gonna just give him all of them. You know what? I'm gonna just let him have I don't know if I've ever done that before. I'm gonna let him have all of them. We're gonna do a little one there. Did it do it? Yep. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and take over the next one, and I'm gonna go over and take over the third one.
Nice.
And now he owns the entire board. Although I didn't say how much he tipped, so I'm gonna say tipped 100 CA. There we go. Now I can do it the other way
Win
around.
7's the best OS so far. I agree. I mean, I don't mind 10 or 11, but yeah, I think Windows 7 was good.
Windows 7, me personally, and you guys are gonna probably just like grill me for this. Windows 7 was my magnum opus working at Microsoft. Like, when I was at Microsoft, Windows 7 was the best operating system that we'd ever produced. Because remember, when I left, we just shipped Windows 8.1, which is hot garbage. It was better than Windows 8.0, but it was still hot garbage. You never hear about people running Windows 8. It's rare. If somebody's running Windows 8, it's mostly because they just
Didn't upgrade.
Yeah, they like to punch themselves in the gut and like they're sadomasochistic and all that. They have a cat of nine tails sitting right next to the computer. But Windows 8 was garbage, and I was ashamed of it. And that was the project that got reset and pushed back, and we had to restart from zero because we were trying to do managed everything and then not do managed everything. .NET framework wasn't there yet for what we were trying to do with it. A lot of limitations. Like it was a good stretch goal.
They shouldn't have pushed the weird tablet interface.
No. The Metro interface, that was the
weird.
bane, dude.
And like, I don't know. It was like they thought everybody was just going to buy all-in-ones with touch screens or something, and it was weird. It was just out of touch. It was out of touch with their users, and they tried to like make this big like paradigm shift. I can just imagine the marketing and corporate meetings that went into that whole.
Yeah. And just so you guys know, all of the developers inside of Microsoft that didn't work on the UX team or the user experience team, we were all screaming, filing bugs, protesting in meetings. That Metro interface was liked by absolutely zero people outside of the user experience team that had a hard on for it. They were the ones that Jim Alchim was like trying to get that shit in there, and we hated it. We absolutely hated it. So we're glad that we finally won, and they brought back the start menu in Windows 8.1.
Yeah, and got rid of the tiles.
And got rid of the tiles and shit. Well, the tiles were still technically there, but you had to like enable them or be on a tablet, and they would show up by default. But we won that battle, right? It was heading in the right direction. But I will say today, and this is sacrilegious, I am running Windows 11 now, which I don't think is quite there yet. Like Windows 11 is still, there's some shit I like about it that keeps me on it, and the future proofing keeps me on it. However, I will still stand that Windows 10 fully patched is the best operating system Microsoft's ever made.
I dig it. Windows 10 is great. It's fine. I don't. The only issues I have with Windows 11, because let's be real, it's just a skin, is the skin. The interface changes that you have to fucking get used to. Like them changing. I don't know why they went with these icons, the icon thing. Like rename and cut and paste and all this stuff are just these little ambigram things, or not ambigrams, but you know what I mean. They're just these like cute little icons, and like that took a little bit to kind of get my brain wrapped around, because it's like, what the fuck, man. But
luckily for you, I know all the internal stories for that. So the reason the icons look the way they do is because they were using OLED screens on the tablets, and they were trying to save as much power as possible. So that's why they went to the monochromatic theme with like the weird icons and stuff.
Yeah,
that people
instead
didn't like
letters. Like you can't just spell that shit out. Like,
well, no, because the draw the letters takes more power than the draw the little image. because the
Oh,
little
wow.
image is
Okay,
basically a
yeah.
monochromatic pixel thing, whereas the text has to be rendered through the font engine, which then you have to go in, grab the font, write the text. So, and on touch devices, they figured that the images were easier to touch and understand than an oblong sentence, right? Where it takes up a lot of space.
I imagine
horizontally.
localization's easier.
It
you
is.
know,
Yeah,
that kind
image
of a thing.
localization's nothing. You literally do
Like,
nothing, right?
You don't have to. Yeah, everybody will get it eventually. If not, yeah, I can see where there's some benefits on their side for it. I guess.
Hey, Anthony Luna. Boop, 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 boop. Thank you for the $10. And you know what?
Oh,
He is
man,
selfless.
yeah.
He is selfless. Yep.
Yeah, Steam Decks are 10% off, man. After only a year, like, could you
can't believe
imagine
that,
if
dude.
Switches were 10% off a year later? Like, come on.
Yeah, Nintendo would never do that.
I might try and convince my lady to. Well, I want a Steam Deck super bad, and I'm probably just gonna buy one anyway. But
I would love
I'm
one.
thinking
I
of
would
like
love one. So
seeing-
if you guys want to
I
send me
might
one, please do. I'll use
I
it.
might sell my Switch for it or something. But
No, I think it's awesome. I think, honestly, when everybody was hyping it before it came out, they're like, this is gonna change gaming, blah 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 blah. I was like, oh my god, every single time something new comes out, like look at the other things Steam released that were just total flops, right? Like the big box thing for the TV.
What
the
did they call
streaming
it?
service one that was like
Steam Deck
$5
or Steam. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, like $5 for like this. By the way, it did work really good though. I do have one down in the garage that worked really well last time I tried it like a year ago.
Yeah.
Where you can stream your PC like 1080p wirelessly to another TV, and there's
the
like
link.
no lag.
Steam Link.
Yeah, and it actually puts the controller through it and everything.
There's wicked input lag though. Like I've done that. I tried to do
notice it.
I've got a TV in the room, and it's basically almost like a giant Google tablet. It's crazy. And so I installed the Steam Link thing, and I have Bluetooth connection to the TV, so I can hook up my. Oh yeah, I bought myself a new controller for Christmas. That's fucking cool. And so I hook the controller up to the TV, and I can play the games. But there is a good like quarter second of lag. Like you're not playing competitive games or anything. Like I wouldn't even want to try an FPS, like even local.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and that could just be my network. That could be me. But what's funny is like it's basically just a remote desktop app. Because the game's actually running on your machine.
Yeah, it's just capturing
and you're
the whole
just capturing
screen.
the screen, and it's like put Steam into big picture mode and all that stuff. I'm like, oh man, I gotta go downstairs and say yes, I trust this application to have control over the computer. Go back upstairs. That was a mess. But yeah.
Hey, look at this. Lost in Space Things. I gave him a line too. Thank you for the sup for $10. Louis Russo said, I think Computer History Museum. Yeah, he does actually. Said, I think Computer History Museum YouTube channel should do a video documenting of the history on record of your experience. I mean, I'd be happy if they would like to ask me questions and stuff. I'd be happy to like do an interview or something with them. My goal at some point is to write a book. Like I do want to write a book at some point that's basically like once everything's long gone, I'm out of my NDA for a lot of stuff. Nothing. My knowledge is basically useless at this point for anybody to get a competition over Microsoft in many ways because they've changed so many things internally. They don't use Product Studio anymore. They don't use Source Depot anymore. Like so many things are disconnected that the further I get away from that, the more freely I can speak about it. And so I eventually would love to get to a point where I write a story because I will tell you this, like honestly, working at Microsoft for 15 years was the most crazy experience of my life. And I guarantee you that there's no other business on earth that was quite like it. Like until now, also I will qualify that today, Microsoft is nothing like it used to be. Like if you work at Microsoft today,
I imagine so.
It's nothing like what I experienced. Like the whole Scrum and having the cubicle farm and, it wasn't like that at all. Like we're talking back the prime days for Microsoft for me in my career were 2000 through about 2008. 2000 through 2008 was the wild west of that company, and I could write 5 books on the stuff that I observed and participated in while I was there. It was amazing, but intense. I will say amazing, but intense. A lot of scary stuff happened. I almost lost my life over some of the shit that happened. It was dangerous, but the good times were really good. And the morale events were legendary. Like if you've not heard of Microsoft, like from that era, the morale events. Yeah. Everybody was just piss drunk, unlimited alcohol. I didn't drink back in those days, but I observed it all. Piss drunk, stumbling around. They would get a limo to come pick you up and take you home, or a cab or whatever. It didn't matter. If the cabs were gone, they'd bring a limo. They'd pay a limo to come get you and take you home. Jeez. And they'd give you a voucher to bring you back in the morning so you could get your car. So they basically come to work the next day on Microsoft. They just hand out the vouchers at the doors. Drunk people are leaving. Like, please take it. Go get the
man,
taxi.
don't
get
die. Like, geez.
Yep. But they were also really good at covering shit up. I would like to tell all the stories about the people that bent Porsches on the campus around telephone poles, pissed drunk, leaving whims. And Microsoft security would cover for it. And Redmond PD wouldn't arrest them or anything. They'd get them out of the car, put them in a taxi, send them home, tell the police department that, oh, it was just an accident, like, tire popped or whatever. And Redmond would just be like, well, Microsoft's so important to the police department there and paid so much money to them that they would just cover it all up. They would just be like, oh, nope, it was just an accident. Let's get the car off there. Here, have the landscaping guys come in and fix some shit. And the next day it was like it never happened. And that was like a regular occurrence. That wasn't like a rare thing. It was like during a whim, you'd hear cars like smashing into curbs. A car flipped once. A car hit a telephone pole that was on the campus and knocked the telephone pole over. I mean, or bent it really, really bad. It wasn't quite all the way over. But that kind of stuff always got covered up. You never heard about anybody getting arrested for it. The police were always really cool. If you were on the campus and Redmond PD found you, as long as you had a blue badge, whatever you were doing was fine. Like, you could literally be out behind the frickin' Microsoft campus shooting a 22 rifle if you wanted to. If frickin' plinking cans at like 11 o'clock at night. And if the police rolled up on you and you had your blue badge, or security pulled up on you your blue badge, go ahead. There was times where I was literally doing Gymkhana in my car when I first got my Subaru. I was giving people joy rides on top of because people could see it from the top floor of building 37. I was giving joy rides drifting around. And every once in a while I'd go up and start drifting around, and I'd come around the corner and Microsoft security would be sitting there in the vehicle looking out the window, but I'd have my parking pass hanging from the window, and I'd have my blue badge around my neck, and I'd just flash it, and they'd just be like, go for it. Just
VIP.
If people complained, then they would come and talk to you. Like, if people were like, that person's being too loud, or it's too early in the morning, or whatever for that shit, they get mad. But no, I used to do that. Like, every day I got to work, I'd do one lap, like for like a year. I all the way around, spinning the tires, and then pull into my parking spot and shut her down.
Oh, man.
And then I'd always go in the building, and I remember walking down the hallway, we'd be like, dude, you were tearing it up. Because when they hear my car, they'd run over to the window and look out the window. And we did the same thing. I wasn't the only one doing it. People were doing it in like Porsches. There was a dude doing it in like his Mercedes Unimog. He was getting the thing like chatter and bounce around, going around the corners. But you could see it from outside of the window. So anytime you heard something going on, everybody ran to the window. And so you come up there and they'd be like, dude, yeah, you really drifted at that time. Damn, you almost hit the pole, dude. Like, it was just, that was the culture there. But that all changed towards the end. Like, once you got past, like, I'll even say like 2010s, 2011, like it started going super downhill, started becoming way more corporate. You lost that edge that they had with, like, back when you had like the Steve Ballmers and the Jim Alchins, and actually Jim Alchin I didn't like that guy at all. That guy was a dick. But
it sounds like how I mean, a lot of the software companies from like the mid to late 90s and stuff were just like really wild, and
Wild West, dude.
Just a bunch of nerds all trying to, like, who are on board for the mission. And as they grew, like, I think the best example of this,
all of them.
I think the best example is Blizzard. Once they got bought up by Activision, it started going to shit. Started going to shit. They lost focus on their mission, and they started becoming nothing but, we need to make a profit, and not like the cool and interesting, like, little fun projects that people had their, like, heart and soul into. Yeah. And for an operating system, I think that's okay. Like, it shouldn't be crazy Wild West and everybody getting drunk and fighting and doing donuts and stuff. Like, an operating system is serious work. Games, though, like, as much as I am disgusted by the the gamer bro culture and, like, and a lot of that shit that was very prevalent back then and then seeped into the corporate culture of especially video game companies. Like, I do think that is, like, not the shitty parts, but the wild and out and, like, passion and the craziness and that sort of stuff is good in a game company. I think it should be fun. I think it should be a little wild and crazy and passionate and kind of over the top. Yeah. That's no excuse for, like, sexual assault and, like, a lot of the toxic side of that has that. And it's like, not as an excuse.
To be fair, Microsoft was really good in that department towards the end.
That's
like, they sucked at it at the beginning. And keep in mind that I almost lost my life because an intern made false allegations against me, and they immediately sided with her and protected her, even without any evidence, just on her story. So that tells you right there that they were even more sensitive than the average bro code office, right? That they would just immediately be like, get rid of him. That's unfair and stupid on their part. but they were willing to do it. And it wasn't out of a need to like protect the woman. It was just to protect the company. They were like, we have more exposure because it's a woman. If it was a man, so just get rid of him because, you know, his contract says we can fire him for whatever reason at any time. You sign a contract saying that, but you cannot, you know, take legal action against it's not actionable. Like you actually totally can. But they say in your contract that you can be fired at any time for any reason. And then Microsoft has no obligation or inclination to tell you why you were fired. And you were required to leave the campus immediately and turn in your badge upon being terminated. So, and when they terminate you, they do it in style. Like guys in black suits, literally with like sunglasses and everything, come to your office from Microsoft security, and they take you out and they put you in a Microsoft town car or one of those Lincoln town cars, and they drive you to the edge of the campus or to wherever your car is parked, and they follow you. They put you in your car and follow you off the campus and say that you can never drive onto the campus again. And if the cameras catch your license plate, you will be arrested. And it's crazy, dude. Like they're hardcore about that stuff. I watched a guy get multiple people get fired while I was there. One of them was the whole Ian Cornette thing I told you guys about, where this dude just like, I just doxed Ian Cornette. Hey, what's up, brother? If you say, hit me up sometime. I want to know what's going on with you. So Ian Cornette is the greatest story ever. You remember the net? Who here remembers net send command? So from the command, it's still like if you drop out, I think net's gone now. Like they got rid of it. Nope, still there. So if you type net space send in the command line, it says it's not there anymore. But back in Windows XP and Windows 2000, 2003, you had net send was one of the commands. And net send would allow you to send a message to another computer, and it would pop up on, if you had access, right? It would pop up on that computer screen and say whatever you typed in a dialog box. And the way it worked is if you type net send space, the name of the computer, not the account, the name of the computer that you want to send the message to, then another space, and then the message that you want to send to them. The problem was with the way the parsing worked back then is if you didn't put in a name, like if there wasn't a computer that was named that, it would think it was part of the message and it would broadcast it to the entire network as star. So what Ian did one day is he types net send. He types in my computer name wrong. I think my computer at the time was named like EJEB or something like that. Something like, like EJEB or something like that. And so he did EJEB space Jerry something, go fuck yourself. He hits enter and it pops up on my screen in my office. And I'm like, I see at the beginning, it says EJEB, the name of my computer. I'm like, it never says the name of my computer. And then I hear down the hallway, what the fuck is this? Hey, dude, did you guys see that? This popped, and I hear it all the way down the hallway.
Well, no, and it should have only just been on the subnet, right? Like it shouldn't go to everybody.
It went to, no, because remember, it's Active Directory. So all the subnets on Active Directory in this case got it.
A little different. Okay, because I've fussed around with it during my college.
As I understand it, every single person in Building 26, at least in Building 26 and 27, got the message. It was hundreds. It was at least hundreds of people. So people are gathering in the hallways, going, "Where did this come from?" And they can see the name of his machine, which is A-Ian Cornette or whatever his ENC, and so they automatically know who he is because he's a vendor, and his name's on there, and he comes into my office, like as we're sitting in the hallway, he comes around the corner and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh my God, what have I done? What have I done?" He's like, "Oh shit, what do I do? What do I do?" And he runs in there and my boss is like, "What the fuck?" Like he's yelling at him, like, "What the fuck, Ian? What did you do, dude? Like, what did you do? This is like, how fucking stupid are you?" And he's like, I know. What do I do? What do I do? I swear to God, it took less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all it took for the men in black to come around the hallway. Ian, they already knew what he looked like, everything. They already looked him up in the gal and got his photo. Ian, come with us. And he's like, "Yeah, I really fucked up, guys." And they walked him down the hallway. We looked out the windows. They walked him out, put him in the town car and drove him off and never saw him again. We still talked to him. He knew our email addresses and like told us like what was going on. And ironically, I think he ended up getting a job at a company that worked with Microsoft. That happened more often than not.
Not a super blackball. That's nice.
Yeah, you'd fire somebody and they would just end up on another team inside of Microsoft and like a month later and they'd be paid more than they did on their original contract. The vendor shit was really weird. Like you could actually get fired as a vendor. Like if you're full time and you got fired, you're done. You're not coming back. But if you got fired as a vendor, all you had to do was just switch vendor companies and come back, and they never could make the connection that you were there before. It was really bizarre. Like we fired a guy, we called him Tweak. We called him Tweak so much I can't even remember his real name. And we called him Tweak because he was always drinking coffee. Like never ever did you catch this dude without a coffee in his hand. He probably drank like 20 coffees a day, and he had them all stacked around his desk, like pyramids of cups, like disposable cups. And so we called him Tweak. And he did something really, really stupid. He set up a webcam in the 263549 main lab, which was the big lab that had like 1,200 computers like physically hooked up on racks. And that's where I worked the first like 2 years of my career, like year and a half. No, it was about a year and a half before I got hired. No, it wasn't even a year. Was I only there 8 months? I was there 8 months before I got hired full time. That's crazy. I just remember that. No, because I remember I got hired in 2001. February 14th. No, 2000. That was my hire date at Microsoft. So shit, I started there in late 1999. Then I'll have to go back and look at the dates. But when they made me full time, it was only after I was there for like 8 months, right? And so, anyways, Tweak, who is a contractor, I'm full time at this time, but he's a contractor. He sets up a camera looking at the front of the lab between the desks and between the server racks because there was an Intel representative that was coming around that was a pretty lady. And nobody knew that he did this, that he set up this webcam. Well, she finds it because she comes in and she works in the front of the lab. All the Intel assets are in the first row of the lab when you go in there. And and another person named Riz from Intel would come in and take down shit and look at it. And so he had this camera and he was watching her and she found the fucking camera. Like, she's like, why is this camera like between these racks, like looking at me? And she comes around the corner. I wasn't there when it happened. And she's like, what the fuck or whatever. And he fessed up. He's like, yeah, no, I just have a camera. He lied. He's like, I have a camera there watching the front door of the lab. But the truth is you're not supposed to have any camera operating in that lab, not phone or otherwise. That's a secret lab. Like you actually have to put in a code on top of your badge to get into it. Wow. And so because he had a camera, luckily he didn't get hit for having the camera there for that reason. But for having a camera active in the lab and he was broadcasting it using an unsecure protocol that he could even watch from home, they fired him on the spot. 3 months later, we just all get an email out of the blue. Hey, Tweak is back, bitches. And he was working on another team that was one building over. Instead of building 26, it was building 27. And he was making $2 more an hour as a contractor. So in 3 months, he went from being fired for having a camera in a secure lab, broadcasting over the clear net, like he could watch it at home, that anybody that knew the IP address could just connect to it and watch it with no passwords or anything. Oof. He did that. And like, this camera's like looking at like protected assets. These are like SDVs from companies and shit. Like this would have got Microsoft in so much trouble. And 3 months later, he managed to be back under a new alias, A-something else. And I was like, and we saw that a couple times. That happened. I wouldn't say it happened super frequently, but there was more than a couple of times that we saw people come back after, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years, but they would come back as another contractor after being fired on really bad terms. So as a contractor, as a full-time, nope, you're never, if you get fired as a full-time, you're never coming back. Like it doesn't matter. It could be 10 years later. They're not going to give you a job unless you somehow invented something that they really, really need. Then they'll bypass everything. Right. But yeah, no, Microsoft, total freaking Wild West. Hey, PhysX, I'm glad you're here, buddy. I'm glad you're here. We were just talking about you a little bit earlier. Hey, I love Scotch. Thank you for the $5 tip. I just saw that. Let me go ahead and get that into the. I'm putting these all manually into the screen. So by the way, you guys are getting a treat today because you're not even like normally this is automated. I'm actually typing this in by hand, each one of these. So here, $5. I love Scotch. Did he have a message? He did have a message. Let's see here. So wife has a few New York Times bestseller books. Could give you helpful info on how to make a book when you visit Roadster Shop. Dude, hell yeah.
Man, just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, just, you know what? Should I do that? Should I just type in my stories?
For a few minutes. Yeah. You just rant for a few minutes on video, get the transcription of the video, punch it into ChatGPT and say, hey, write me a fucking book with this text based on this text. Boom. I'm trying to write a memoir. You could be super verbose. You are a ghostwriter for a technical memoir tell-all book. Yep. I'm going to provide you with a bunch of my notes and shit, and I need you to spit out a book. I can't find. We're gonna get off topic on this, but
no, it's okay. I gotta find it again. We'll come back.
I gotta find it again. But this guy is so with the release of GPT-4, he is building a business based on. He's just doing everything the AI is telling him to. He's like, he punched in there. He goes, you are now an entrepreneurial AI. Your goal is to make as much money as possible, not doing anything illegal. I will act as your human liaison for anything that needs to occur in the physical world. We have $1,000 to start with. Let's go. There's a little bit more detail to it, but that's the core of it. And like, he's made, it's like this eco-friendly. So I guess they're going to do affiliate marketing. It's like this eco-friendly, like, green stuff, all this eco-friendly products and like blog posts and stuff. And he's, I think like he got down to like almost $25, but then like through some sort of sponsorship, I think it's because the tweet blew up because he's feeding the info back. Like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've spent. Like I've spent $29 for the domain. I spent this much for the thing. Like, what should we do with the next bit of money? Oh, we got like $60 left. What should we do? Spend $40 on ad spend, and then he tells the machine like, hey, this project is blowing up on Twitter. like, do you have a message for the Twitter followers and stuff? And it says, hey, I'm entrepreneurial GPT. I'm love blah, 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 all this cool stuff. And I think he's actually getting big. I think because the tweet is blown up, he's starting to get some like corporate sponsorships and stuff. But because like the last I remember